Hey everybody, it is Kelly Youngs here, the founder of She Is Fierce. I am so pleased that you are joining me for our fourth live session of this week. We have had incredible Silver Linings story series sessions with some phenomenally inspiring women. We have talked about how to grow your online business, and now, because I know every single one of us needs this in many different unique ways, I have asked the incredible Heather Horrell from Grow Family Yoga to join us. She is a member of our community, a part of our local community, and also just a really phenomenal stress management, mindfulness technique coach, a yoga teacher. She's got all of the different elements that I think many of us are trying to figure out right now. So I asked Heather to join us and just walk us through some simple steps for stress management. So first of all, Heather, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Kelly. You're so eloquent. I'm just like,
Thank you. Well, I am honored to have you here. And I know you and I have talked through this. You're a business owner. You're a mom of 6 children, which honestly, and I think when we spoke, you were like, it's not that much more than 2. And I was like, no, give yourself credit. It's definitely more than 2. And you are somehow just a master with a business and 6 children. You are a master at mindfulness, and whether or not, I'm sure we're all dealing with stress. I know you're dealing with stress just like the rest of us right now, but you have some techniques that can help each of us to kind of just at least get to some place where we're able to function and hopefully come out of this in a healthy place. So can I go ahead and hand it over to you and ask you to share a little bit of your wisdom?
absolutely. So thanks again for having me. And there's a couple things that I wanted to address. I'm seeing a lot of people, especially parents who are, doing the distance learning thing and working from home and trying to manage it all. And prior to all this, managing it all can be really difficult. We only have 24 hours in a day, but that's not enough. And I'm seeing so many people right now feel like I should have more time that I'm at home, but it feels just so much more stressful. And one of the things that I think can really help, the first thing I'd like to kind of address is the environment. So setting up your environment very mindfully, making sure that you have ample space for what you need to do, whether it's setting up your kiddos on their computer for the distance learning, or your work, you have your home office, just setting it up in such a way that you can find things easily, that you can see things easily, that you feel like you have space around you, because that constriction can feel really overwhelming. And then when you can't find things, it just adds to that level of stress. So first, setting up the environment in a way that allows you to work the most productively and makes you happy. Setting up a few things. Maybe if you have a plant that you like, I know plants are like all the rage right now, and I love plants, but I kill them. So I have to look out my window. So that was one thing. And then timing and communication. So, just because school goes from 9 to 3 or 8 to 3 or whatever time it goes, right now at distance learning, you have a little bit more flexibility. So don't feel like you're a failure if your child is waking up at 9:30 or 10, because believe it or not, they're stressed out too. They're picking up on all this chaos, and they maybe don't know how to communicate that with you. And so if they're waking up at 9:30, 10, don't feel like, oh my gosh, you're usually at school at 7:30. We need to be doing this now. The great thing about the home environment is you can be a little more flexible. So allow yourself that mindset to say, okay, well, we can spread it out. We can compress some things. We can move some things around. When you do that, you can also hopefully rearrange your schedule too, especially entrepreneurs and people who maybe have a little more flexibility with their own employer. And then lastly, communication with both your family and your employer, and their teacher, by the way. That was something I saw recently on a Facebook thread, was like, this is so much work. And, I just encourage them, talk to the teacher, because the teachers are also very stressed out. They're trying to make learning engaging for your children. They're trying to make it fun. And most of them have their own families too. And it's very stressful for them. So open up those lines of communication, problem solve together, and talk to your family about that. So those are some more practical things that almost don't look like mindfulness, but when we really break it down, it's thinking about the present time and awareness.
Yeah. No, I mean, can I just jump in and say that I love everything you're saying, because for sure, I mean, I was just saying, I've tidied up a little bit behind me, but When this first happened, I did exactly what you said. I was like, we have to sort our house out because I cannot exist like this. And for the first week or two, it went perfectly. And I was like, oh, I'm in a good place right now. And then over time with 2 children, chaos takes over. And you do feel that mental shift. And so I think that's, first of all, such a great piece of advice, even though it seems overwhelming and frustrating to clean up, right, in the middle of everything, to kind of just focus on that. The key to communication. And I love that. So even for people who are business owners, communicating with their clients, letting people know where they are. And especially, you said, like with teachers, with people that you have no choice but to be engaging with in this moment, you have to communicate with them in a really transparent, and also be honest, right? If we're struggling, tell them we're struggling. If we need extra help, let them know. And be, we say this all the time, but like, give those people grace, because they're probably with their 3 children at home trying to get stuff done too.
Right. And we're in unprecedented times. We've been working with technology for at least a decade now, but not in the way that we are at this very moment. And that's just really stressful for a lot of people. So there's a couple of actual physical things that you can do too in the moment when you begin feeling your heart race or your mind is racing and you're thinking about what you're going to do in the next 10 minutes and what it's going to look like 6 months from now. And honestly, the first thing we can do is realize we don't have control over this. And that's a really hard thing to accept, because most of us, especially entrepreneurs, we want to have control of everything. And it can be really hard just to say, let go. And it can be easy. Somebody to our, listening might say, oh, that's easy to say, just let go. But when you're able to do it, it's very freeing to know I can only do what I can do. And then the rest will work out in a way that has to work out. So you can first notice your heart racing, notice your mind racing, take a moment, step outside, step into a different room, something that makes you happy, and just take a deep breath, a nice, fulfilling, ribs expanding breath, and just notice what that feels like to be nourished by that air, and share that with your kiddos too. We call it belly breathing. So when you're sharing some of these stress management and mindfulness techniques with kids, it can be a lot like really esoteric. So one thing that we can do is get on their level, become a kid again. And when you do that and you're sharing it with them, they're going to respond, and it's amazing. But also you'll walk away being like, why did I forget to be a kid? And that in it of itself is such a powerful tool to be able to manage something like this, to find the silver linings, to find a little bit of that levity in these situations. So yeah.
I love that. So can you share from your real life, how are you doing that with 6 children right now? And I know you are a homeschool mom anyway, so this maybe from that perspective is not completely different, but I'm sure you're still restricted, right?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for saying that, because a lot of people who are homeschoolers, people will say to us like, oh, this isn't any different for you. And it's like, well, not being confined in the house with them maybe is not totally different, like hearing mom all day. But it is different because most of us, homeschooling is not just at home. It's going out to the zoo. It's going to the library. It's going to all these different events. And not being able to do that has been very hard for my children. And one thing that we're really doing together is a lot of movement, of course, a lot of yoga. They actually do it with me. But just, again, that communication, showing YouTube videos, there's great ones out there about how the virus works and teaching them and why it's important we stay inside, why it's important we wash our hands, making it fun, singing songs, having them, one of my favorite things for the breathing and the relaxation is they get their favorite like little lovey. Even my oldest one, he probably not love that I said that, but they all have one, right?
I have a feeling his friends are not watching this. We're probably okay.
No, we're good. At night when we get ready for bed, they just put their lovey on their belly. And my kids do like a little bit of aromatherapy, but it's not necessary. And we just take nice 3 long breaths together. And I just kind of guide them through a story. Sometimes I actually read from a book. Sometimes I, teach a guided meditation, but there's great ones out there on apps. I post them in my group so that you can read to your kiddo.
You're very popular. So, well, I love that advice. I love the idea of breathing, whether it's when you're stressed, stepping outside and taking a breath, or teaching that technique, and kind of working through that with your kids when they're struggling, which, we all know what that looks like. Yeah. And so I think that every single piece of advice that you've shared is so helpful. I love hearing from you how you're applying that in your own life with your children, especially because I know so many people are moms, they're listening. I'm listening. You know, we've actually done pretty well, but like right before we got on today, I was like, it's driving me crazy. So I think that we all have some different experience with that, right? So as we kind of wrap up, do you have any other kind of words of wisdom or just tips and advice to share with the women who are watching this and trying to figure out how to kind of step through this?
I do. When you asked me that, I had to look at my notes. It's like, I do. So again, one of those things that's easier said than done, and I want to be really sensitive and to say how hard this is. So first, validate. It's okay to say, this is really hard. Validate that within yourself, within your children. If you need to cry, if you need to vent, that's okay. This is so different than what we are used to living like. So validate that first. And then once you do that, you've created space within your own mind and heart to open yourself up to new possibilities. I actually had in our meeting, I had a really hard time thinking about what this is going to look like, 6 months from now, a year from now. And when I broke down one night and I, had my friends and on the phone, and we did a Zoom, and I had my husband, and just being allowed to have that space to be completely vulnerable, allowed all the emotions to get out that we kind of physically hold. And then it created that space for me to begin problem solving after that and to make a decision too. And I think that's important for a lot of moms. You don't have to make any decisions right now, but you can leave space open. And I think that's really important, to just be open to possibilities and then find those silver linings. One of the happiest things right now for me is getting more time to just fully live. We've been playing a lot of games and doing crafts and playing outside, and that's stuff I don't usually get to do as much with them. And so you just have to kind of shift a little bit and pivot and say, what can I learn from this experience? What have I learned from my children? And what have I learned about myself? And I think when we do that, we ask ourselves those questions, we might be surprised with some of the positive things that come from that.
Yeah, and I think, you kind of touched on this with your own experience, and we talked even before this, but I think that you really hit on something that I think a lot of us are learning about ourselves. Okay, when it hits the fan and we are under pressure, of course, we all have an emotional experience and an emotional reaction to that. But also I think that, I know I've seen you separately and everything that you're doing in your business and shifting and adapting and creating new alternatives for your existing clients and new opportunities to bring new people into your world. And it might not feel like everything you want right now, but you are also creating opportunity that is bigger, right? So when you're thinking about that 6 months or 12 months ahead, it doesn't have to be something that's closing in on you. It can be something that's actually expanding.
Right. I love that kind of just visualization. Even if, practically speaking, yoga teacher here, if people listening want to do that, like take a deep breath and think of expanding rather than constriction. Notice how that feels in your body and in your mind.
I love that. Well, I'm so grateful to you. I want to make sure that everybody knows that you are based in Jacksonville, Florida. We have info on our website you can go check out, but you can also go to growfamilyyoga.com.
It's actually, our URL is kind of funny.
Oh, tell me.
It's growhappyfamily.com.
Grow I knew I got it wrong, so I paused. Growhappyfamily.com. And you are also offering online private coaching, online sessions. She has a membership set up that you can go and be a part of. You are selling different kits and stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Just so that...
I'm so excited about that. So some of the stuff that I talked about using and sharing with your children in our talk here is included, but it's more, I have a whole pamphlet that I give in this kit that shows exactly what to do with each thing, and it's filled to the brim with props and toys that I actually use in our family and kids yoga classes, and that they can use in our online kids yoga classes, but they don't have to. That's the beauty of it. They can just use it together for unstructured mindfulness playtime. So in between their distance learning classes, they want to take a 5 or 10 minute break and get out one of the props or toys and look at the pamphlet, how to use it. And I give different ideas for each one, a couple of different options actually, and tell about the benefits. So it's completely fun. And like I said, it can be used structured or not. And I just think that that's really important right now too, because I know a lot of people, I love our virtual offerings, but a lot of people probably are weary a little bit with kids offerings. So I wanted to give some people
well, and I think
options.
you're also giving the opportunity for people to come online and be led by somebody who's an expert, but also step away from sitting in front of a computer.
Yes.
And I think that that is really powerful. So I hope that if you're watching this, you know, you can obviously connect with Heather if you are local in North Florida, but also you can connect with her online. You can do live coaching with her. You can see how amazing she is. If you are working with through stress management right now, or you're trying to be more mindful, she is a great person to connect with and get some real life coaching from right now. And my son is here. I think he just snuck around the back. I don't know if you saw. You want to come say hi? And then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up because I want to make sure that we get to share this in each place. Say hi. I need a haircut, as you can see. I haven't taken that on yet. But I'm so grateful to you, Heather, for joining us. I hope everybody will connect with you separately or obviously in our community. And we will continue to come back and share more stress management, mindfulness techniques during this time. We have a lot of business coaching. I had a phenomenal response to our Grow Your Online Business session earlier this week. So I'm going to be doing a bunch more in that area because I want to make sure that we're helping everybody that is watching who might be a little stressed out about your business right now. So we're going to do some practical business stuff, but I think that every single technique that you talked about is so powerful for women right now, whether you're a business owner, a mom, you know, working your career, whether you've been furloughed, whatever you're dealing with. It gives you the opportunity to kind of take that moment and kind of put things in perspective.
Thank you, Kelly.
So thank you, Heather. I'm so grateful to have you here, and I can't wait to have you back. Bye, guys. Thank you, and we'll see you very soon.